Black environmental organizations are calling out the environmental racism that has ostracized BIPOC from the conversations surrounding environmental sustainability and change. These groups advocate for individuals disproportionately impacted by environmental concerns, including pollution, climate change, lack of access to clean water, and food insecurity. The civil rights movement saw the birth of vocal activism regarding inequalities in access to basic human rights. In 1982, one of the first environmental protests was held in Warren County, North Carolina. According to the Environmental and Energy Study Institute, the town's Black residents held a sit-in strike against the development of a landfill, built to bury soil contaminated with polychlorinated biphenyl, a toxic industrial waste. The sit-in led to 500 arrests, but it sparked a wave of national attention and exposed how communities of color are dismissed regarding environmental health and safety. In 2020, Yale conducted a survey proving Black and Hispanic communities cared more about pressing environmental issues than others. Their survey found that 69% of Hispanics, Latinos, and 57% of Black Americans showed more concern regarding global warming. Over 30 years after the Warren County sit-in, Black environmentalists and groups still advocate for unrepresented communities and people. Here are some you should know.
The article on Blavity, titled "Fighting Environmental Racism," discusses the intersection of environmental issues and systemic racism, particularly how marginalized communities, especially Black communities, are disproportionately affected by environmental hazards. It highlights that factors like air and water pollution are prevalent in these communities, contributing to higher rates of health issues, including respiratory diseases and maternal health problems. The piece emphasizes that addressing environmental racism requires acknowledging the systemic barriers that prevent these communities from fully participating in the democratic process, particularly in voting. The author argues that protecting voting rights is crucial to empower these communities to advocate for their environmental and health needs. The article also calls for increased funding and resources to ensure safe and equitable access to voting, especially in light of health crises like the COVID-19 pandemic. The Blavity article, "Fighting Environmental Racism," focuses on the pressing issue of how environmental hazards disproportionately impact communities of color, particularly Black communities. Here are some key points and themes discussed in the article. 1. Disproportionate health risks. The article notes that marginalized communities often face higher levels of pollution and environmental hazards, leading to increased rates of health issues like asthma, heart disease, and maternal mortality. This systemic inequality exacerbates existing health disparities. 2. Impact of systemic racism. It discusses how systemic racism has historically excluded these communities from decision-making processes regarding environmental policies, further entrenching their vulnerabilities. Environmental policies often ignore the needs of these populations, which can lead to neglect and the worsening of their living conditions. 3. Voting rights as a tool for change. A central theme is the link between environmental justice and voting rights. The author argues that protecting the right to vote is essential for these communities to advocate for their environmental and health needs. Voter suppression tactics, such as limiting polling locations and access to absentee ballots, particularly affect communities of color. 4. Call for action. The article emphasizes the need for immediate action from Congress to fund and support safe and equitable voting practices. It advocates for comprehensive policies that address both environmental issues and the barriers to voting, allowing marginalized communities to have a say in the policies that affect their lives. 5. Examples and case studies. The article references instances like the 2020 Wisconsin primary election, where many voters faced significant challenges in accessing polling places, highlighting the intersection of health crises and voting rights. Additionally, the article discusses broader themes of environmental justice and maternal health, emphasizing the need for comprehensive approaches to these intertwined issues, as noted in other sources discussing similar topics. Generation Green is a grassroots organization focused on environmental liberation within the Black community. Founded and led entirely by Black youth and women, the organization aims to tackle environmental racism while promoting social justice and community empowerment. Its ideological framework, coined as environmental liberation, seeks to address the historical and systemic neglect of Black voices in environmental discussions and actions. The organization's key initiatives include One EL Room. This is a series of interactive community learning sessions designed to explore various topics related to environmental justice and it covers themes like Black environmentalism, the impacts of global racial capitalism, and the effects of colonialism on the African diaspora. 2. Community empowerment. Generation Green emphasizes the importance of collective power building and collaborative ideation among Black communities. It aims to reconnect Black individuals with their environment and encourage active participation in environmental and social justice movements. 3. Focus on youth leadership. The organization prioritizes the leadership of young people and aims to cultivate a new generation of environmental activists who can effectively advocate for their communities. Generation Green positions itself as a vital player in the fight against environmental racism, striving to create a more equitable future where Black communities can thrive both environmentally and socially. The National Black Environmental Justice Network, NBEJN, is an organization dedicated to addressing environmental injustices that disproportionately affect Black communities in the United States. It was originally established in December 1999 during a gathering of over 300 Black activists in New Orleans, aiming to tackle environmental and health disparities faced by African Americans. After disbanding in 2006, NBEJN was relaunched in August 2020 in response to systemic racism, highlighted by events like the murder of George Floyd and the COVID-19 pandemic, which exposed the vulnerabilities of Black communities to both health and environmental risks. NBEJN's mission is to improve the lives of Black individuals by fighting against systemic racism and ensuring equal access to environmental, climate, and economic justice. The organization operates on principles that emphasize community involvement, youth engagement, and a focus on sustainable practices. It encourages participation from individuals and organizations across various sectors and geographical locations to advocate for a healthier and more equitable environment. The NAACP's work in environmental justice focuses on addressing the disproportionate environmental hazards faced by Black and Brown communities. This initiative sees environmental and climate justice as a civil rights issue. The organization advocates for the reduction of harmful emissions, the shutdown of toxic facilities, and stricter enforcement of regulations targeting pollution in these communities. The NAACP also emphasizes the importance of transitioning to clean energy and energy efficiency. Their goals include engaging communities in sustainability practices, promoting food justice, advocating for transportation equity, and encouraging participatory democracy in environmental decision-making processes. The organization has established a set of policy recommendations to ensure that Black communities are included in environmental solutions, prioritizing equity and sustainability. Outdoor Afro is an organization dedicated to creating and promoting inclusive spaces for Black people to connect with nature. Founded by Rue Mapp, it aims to enhance community engagement through various outdoor activities, such as hiking, camping, and fishing. The organization not only emphasizes outdoor recreation, but also addresses historical disparities in access to natural spaces for Black communities. Outdoor Afro hosts local meetups across the U.S. and offers programs that promote Black leadership in outdoor settings. One of their significant initiatives is the Making Waves program, which focuses on addressing the public health crisis of drowning among Black youth. Swim lessons, helping to ensure that children and their caregivers can gain this vital skill. Overall, Outdoor Afro promotes Black joy in nature and seeks to connect individuals and families to outdoor experiences that resonate with their cultural heritage. The Hip Hop Caucus is a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that leverages hip hop culture to mobilize young people, particularly from marginalized communities, around issues of social and environmental justice. Founded in 2004, the organization focuses on connecting the hip-hop community to civic engagement, advocating for policies that address systemic injustices like climate change, racial discrimination, and economic inequality. One of their prominent initiatives is the Bank Black and Green campaign, which encourages Black-owned banks to divest from the fossil fuel industry and mass incarceration, while instead deploying resources to frontline communities of color. This campaign aims to strengthen economic power within these communities and address the interconnectedness of racial, economic, and environmental justice. Additionally, the Hip Hop Caucus actively participates in climate activism emphasizing that climate justice is inherently linked to racial justice. Their campaigns often highlight the struggles of Black, Brown, and Indigenous communities who are disproportionately affected by environmental degradation and climate crises. Before you go, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest content. We've got plenty more exciting videos coming your way, and you won't want to miss them. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.